The International Criminal Court in The Hague has convicted militia leader Al-Hassan Ag Abdoul-Aziz for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Mali. He now faces up to life imprisonment when he is sentenced at the later date. The prosecution focused its case mainly around charges of crimes against humanity relating to gender-based violence.
During the 3 years of his trial hearings, Al-Hassan Ag Abdoul-Aziz has sat silently, showing almost no expression. The 13 charges against him involve torture, rape, sexual slavery, forced marriages, persecution, and the destruction of historic monuments in Timbuktu. According to his indictment, the 46-year-old was the head of an Islamic police division in an extremist militant group which seized power in Mali in 2012. They enforced a strict version of Sharia law until they were driven out by French forces in 2013. During the trial proceedings, prosecutors showed judges evidence they said proved Al-Hassan ordered floggings and beatings of residents of Timbuktu who refused to comply with religious rules. Al-Hassan never pleaded in this case, refusing even to answer the charges of guilty or not guilty. Over 2,000 victims were represented by legal teams in The Hague. His defense lawyers had tried to get the case thrown out, alleging Al-Hassan himself had been subjected to torture during interviews taken while he was detained in Mali, and which were used in this trial. It's significant for the International Criminal Court as it's the first time where the central feature of the prosecution's case was the use of gender-based violence as a crime against humanity.
And DW's correspondent Jack Parrock, who filed that report, is in The Hague, joins us now. He's been following this trial. Jack, the court has convicted the Malian militia leader. What more can you tell us about the court's decision?
Yeah, indeed. So actually the judgment in this verdict is still being read out. It's taking quite a lot longer than I've experienced when I've followed verdicts here at the International Criminal Court in the past. But we do know, as the presiding judge, Antoine Mindwa, reads this verdict out, that he has been convicted on counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The verdict being read out and the way that the presiding judge is doing it is explaining specific situations where Al-Hassan is accused of torturing, of ordering floggings in public squares, and each individual situation is being explained. Situations like the amputation of one victim's arm. We don't know exactly how many counts and charges he will be convicted of just yet, but we do know that he will be convicted on war crimes and crimes against humanity. As I said in the report, he never either pled guilty or not guilty in this case. Al-Hassan has been sat in the courtroom today in Tuareg dressed, his arms folded across his chest, looking relatively disinterested still, as has been the hallmark of his presence in the courtroom here at the International Criminal Court throughout this case.
So the verdict is still being read out. This trial took 3 years, Jack. Why so long?
Well, actually, that's relatively a sort of average time for the International Criminal Court, perhaps a little bit longer. But there has been a delay in the verdict specifically. The case was sort of finished, the trial was done, because one of the judges was sick and essentially wasn't able to come into the courtroom to read out the case. These cases do take a long time. The lawyers for both the defense, the prosecution, and the lawyers representing the victims all have many opportunities to present their case, their side of the story as the case goes forward. And there, as I say, there are multiple instances that are represented in these cases. All of these individual cases where there has been a public flogging, oftentimes there were videos shown of that, where there was a forced marriage. Each of those victims gets represented and gets to speak. So international justice cases, especially criminal justice cases, just simply do take a long time.
Could this verdict, Jack, have implications for future cases involving gender-based violence as a crime against humanity?
Yeah, definitely. I think what's really interesting is how the prosecution really circulated this whole case around that issue, especially of the crimes that were committed against women in Timbuktu, but also against the cultural heritage in the Malian capital, which has such a rich cultural heritage that was destroyed by Ansar Dine and the other jihadists that were connected to Al-Hassan himself. I think what's also interesting in this case is not just that this is the central figure, but also how particular they are being about reading out these convictions. Here at the International Criminal Court, a number of convictions have been overturned on appeal. Al-Hassan will have that opportunity himself to do that, and it's clear that the judges want to be very, very clear on why they are putting forward these convictions, why they are handing down these convictions, and that they will want them to be upheld on appeal if the defence does decide to go to that stage, which very often happens here at the ICC.
Jack, thank you very much for your reporting. Our correspondent Jack Parrock there in The Hague.